On this Mother's Day, 2016, I have so much to be thankful for. 8 beautiful children, 15 grandchildren, a little great-grandson, 3 beautiful stepdaughters, and 9 children-in-law that I love. I am a truly grateful and happy woman. The first mother, Eve, had everything. She had a perfect place to live. All her needs were supplied. She and her husband walked with God and talked with God. And did she count her blessings? Maybe so. But she made a big mistake. She dwelt on the one thing she didn't have, and it led to trouble for us all. I choose to be thankful and grateful to be who I am and where I am. And I'm thankful for my family. I'm so grateful to be a mother. What a privilege, an honor. The hardest thing I'll ever do and the most rewarding thing I'll ever do. I am so happy to be called mother. I can tell you that parenting the first time around was a real rodeo. I had no idea what I was doing. I was so thrilled to be pregnant. I couldn't wait to start wearing maternity clothes. I marveled at the miracle taking place in my body. In my days, in the 60s and 70s, you had no idea the gender of the child or the real firm due date. It was like waiting for Christmas. Was it a boy or a girl? When would it arrive? Now, believe it or not, in my day, there was no such thing as a pregnancy test with a little thing that changes colors. No, if you really weren't sure, a woman's urine was injected into a rabbit, and if the rabbit died, she was pregnant. Well, I didn't need the pregnancy test. As soon as I got pregnant, every time, I had morning sickness, all the way up until I was on the delivery table. So there was no question. I was totally unprepared for motherhood. I had no idea what to do with the little guy. And it took me 3 days. When my milk came in, I fell in love with him. I fell head over heels in love with that beautiful little baby. Of course, I had no idea what to do with him. So when I was on my own with my own little baby, I would hold him in one hand and the Dr. Spock child rearing book in the other. And it was tear-stained because I didn't know what I was doing. So I diagnosed him with pyloric stenosis. I thought he had impetigo. I was sure he had measles. I worried and worried and worried. And somehow, by miracle, the little guy survived. When baby number 2 came along, it was a piece of cake. Easy. Because I knew what I was doing. And the first one had survived, hadn't he? They became great buddies. Baby number 3 came along, and she was a sweetie that got along with everyone. We had a 5-year gap, and then number 4 came along, a little sweet baby girl that was everybody's baby doll. Well, this was easy. And then baby number 5, another girl, came along, and she wasn't an easy baby. She was one of those strong-willed children. She was the kind that from very young, she'd say, we're going to bats on this, and somebody's going to go down, and it isn't going to be me. For those of you that have a child like that, let me tell you, they turn out great. She is a wonderful person. I've had several strong-willed children, and they've turned out great. All my kids have turned out great. I am so blessed. Now, I always tell girls, be very careful in choosing the daddy of your babies. You need a really good man because you know the family is the first Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Mommy and daddy between them are responsible for the justice and the leadership and the provision and the nurturing and the teaching and the nursing, the whole thing. And it's not an easy task, and it really needs 2 people on the job. I want all girls to know, be careful who you choose. The daddy of your children is very important. So I found myself a single parent. And suddenly I was mommy and daddy. Oh, but what a joy. It was now my responsibility to provide for them and not only provide food, clothing, and shelter, but nurture and teach and fix the boo-boos and everything a mother does. I did it joyfully, and the reward has been fabulous. Now, what do you do with 8 children and no money? Well, we had a lot of fun. You'd be surprised how exciting a trip to the pet store could be. All those wonderful animals. You don't even have to pay entrance fees. You just go in and look at the slithery snakes and the cuddly puppies and the fish in the aquarium and just have a blast. I loved it when the kids were so little that they didn't know you needed a quarter in those little rides at the grocery store. They were happy with the video display and didn't know. It was a bad day when they found out you needed a quarter to really enjoy those things. We used to go to the dollar movie. It was the only one we could afford. There were so many of us and so little money. But we saw Superman, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, all the great movies. Our feet would stick to the floor because of the spilled soda and candy, but hey, we loved it. Thrifty ice cream cones, oh, what a happy memory. When they offered a special so that you could exchange a recyclable phone book for an ice cream cone, all my phone books disappeared. Happy memories. We would go up to Palomar Mountain and play in the snow until everyone was freezing and complaining. Then we'd come back home and remember how much fun we had. We flew kites. I read. The library's free. We read all the wonderful children's classics and chapter books and got cuddled up together and loved reading. Eventually, I found that good man I mentioned earlier, and my dear Harry came into our lives. He accepted this mob of kids. He fell in love with them, and I think he liked me too. And together, we raised those kids. Now, one of my daughters asked me not long ago, how did you do a step-parenting thing? How did you do it? And Harry and I said, oh, well, we just played good cop and bad cop. And one of my daughters said, there was a good cop? Yep, we loved him. In 1991, one of my daughters wrote a letter that got me elected Mother of the Year at Oceanside High School. I'll read just a little excerpt from her letter, but I have her letter framed and on my wall to this day. I remember when I was a baby and we didn't have much money or expensive toys, but we didn't go without. You made us stuffed animals yourself. I remember how much I loved the little lamb you made me. Little did I know it was a converted sock. When my baby graduated from high school, I thought, oh, it's over. I loved parenting. I loved raising them. And it's over. No. When your child turns 18, it's not over. You're still mom. You still care about them. He looked so handsome in his cap and gown, and I thought, he's so ready for the world. He's got a big smile and winning ways and charm. He just fills my heart with joy. I remember when he was a frog in the kindergarten play. He was perfectly typecast. His only line was, ribbit, ribbit, perfect. As we go through the brilliant peaks and gloomy valleys of life, my children and I have each other, the strong bond of love that we share. We lost that first child, the one I wasted 3 days before I fell in love with him. Well, I fell totally in love with him. But just 6 weeks shy of his 50th birthday, he went on to be with Jesus. We miss him, we love him, and we know we'll see him again someday. But it's not easy to lose a child. No parent should have to do that. Parenting doesn't stop when your kids grow up. They'll always be your kids. I still think of all of them as about 2 years old. I just love it. When one of them asks me for advice, I love to give advice. And I'm happy to know that they know they can turn to me for help and love anytime. Now at Christmas time, 40 plus people converge on our little home, and we have a love fest, a Christmas feast, and love sharing that time together. All hearts come home, and we're together again. I'm such a blessed and happy mom. One thing for sure, God loves mothers. What a privilege to be a mother. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Thank you, dear God, for this amazing task you've given us called motherhood.